Today I'm going to be doing a little staining or applying some tung oil to our countertop backsplashes. These are birch that are actually designed to go with our countertops we put in our house. They're birch 1.5 inch countertops, so these are going to be our backsplashes, and we didn't stain them. We actually did the tung oil treatment on them, which makes them food grade. It's safe to do anything you want on them with your food. So what I did, I started out with these and sanded them, starting with 150 and then went down to 220 and then a 400 grit sandpaper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak the ends really well and then soak the top and bottom with the tung oil, and then go to the top side. And the top side, we're going to have to keep it wet for 30 minutes, like actually almost puddled up on it, so it can actually soak up what it needs to into the wood. So what we're going to do, we've actually used this Milk Paint Company tung oil on our countertops and other things, butcher blocks, and we really like it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to shake it up really good. And I've got this old plastic container that I'm just going to pour some into. That way you're not trying to pour it, you're spilling it everywhere, because this stuff does kind of, it'll stain any kind of wood it gets on. So I like putting it in a container, that way it kind of keeps you from doing that. And I'm just using this old almond jug that we had some almonds in. It has a plenty wide enough lid that I can get my brush into it. It may actually take a lot more than that, because I can re-pour that up if I need to. I've got my rag for when I have to wipe off the excess after 30 minutes. This is really a neat process, because when it's done, it's actually really slick, like you actually did stain it and actually put a polyurethane on it. So we really like how they look, and I didn't want to video me sanding them because that's just really boring. So here we go. I'm going to start with the ends, and I use these little sponge brushes you can get from really any hardware store or even Walmart for really cheap, because once this tung oil gets on them, it kind of ruins them. So because it actually kind of gets hard, and it'll, like if you use a regular paintbrush, you're only going to use it one time on this. And these are so cheap, they're like 99 cents for a pack of 5. So we just get them, and that way when we're done with them, we can chunk them. And these end grains, you want to get them really good, because they're going to soak up the most oil. And like I said, we'll have to watch them, because we kind of need to keep them soaked. So what I do first is I'm going to do the ends and the top and bottom. That way, if these dry out or one of them doesn't turn out as well, it's not going to be as bad as if, say, like something happened to the face of it. So I want to save the faces to where I can do all of them and pay really close attention to them. And we, going through the process of our countertops, we learned it's better to put something under your wood. That way it kind of keeps them up off of whatever you're working on. You can see I've got these supported in 3 places. That way it doesn't sag or anything like that. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but these are, this stuff's dripping everywhere. That's why I say you want to be somewhere where you're not worried about any kind of drips or anything. Say like if you were doing this in your carport, you're going to have spots and everything else on your floor. So back here on the back deck, we're not real worried about it. We do all kinds of projects out here. And you can see I'm dripping a little bit on the face of them, and that's really not going to affect them, because when I go back through, it's going to cover all that up. And this isn't like a stain where it'll just keep getting darker and darker as we go. This will actually, it'll absorb as much oil as it's going to, and then it'll stop. So these will all stay a pretty consistent color, unless you have a knot kind of like right there or something in your wood. That'll actually make the color darker, but it's okay. That's why we chose wood, because I like the character of it. And these actually, from shipping, have a little bit of nicks or something like that in the wood, but that's okay because it adds character to it. Our countertops actually have scratches in them already, but that's what they're there for. They're there to use. And then once I get one coat on all of the edges, I'm actually going to go ahead and start the face. And these I'm not as worried about staying as wet, because it's going to soak a majority of this up. But when you do the front or the face of the backsplashes, we learned this on our countertops, that you put on the top will actually run down the sides and will actually keep the sides wet, and it'll allow it to soak up more oil also. And I think doing this process, I believe my wife looked up, I can't really remember, so I hope I'm right on it. I believe these don't have to be treated. If you do them correctly, this has to set for 30 days to be fully cured, which we've had this wood in our house for quite a while to kind of let it acclimate to the temperature in our house and the atmosphere. So after 30 days, these things are not supposed to have to be treated again for like 7 years, I believe is what it is. It's a long time, so, which I'm sure if you use them and cut on them and things like that, you'll probably want to pay attention and just kind of look at it and see if they need anything. And see, that really brings the grain and the different woods out. Not the different woods, but this is all birch, but they're different. It's kind of different shades. It was probably cut at different sawmills or come out of different places of the country. So it's going to look a tad different, each piece of wood. And you'll see I'll have to pay real close attention to these two on the outside, because the sun's hitting them. So they will actually dry quite a bit faster. And don't be afraid to get these things wet, because like I said, they're going to soak up all the oil they can, and then we'll wipe off the excess. See, the ones on the end already have some dry spots. But what I want to do is go back, I want to finish all of these. That way they have one coat on them before I go back and start reapplying. That way your coats are fairly even, and that way you don't get mixed up. Because I'm going to do this for 30 minutes, wipe it off, and let that dry for a little while, and then I'll come back and do a couple more coats. And what you want to do is you want to do the coats, and when you see it dry, like the ones on the outside, you want to come back and recoat them until it's kind of puddled. And then once they actually start getting the amount of oil in them that they want, they'll kind of, I want to say, start kind of rejecting the oil, and it'll kind of puddle up on top of it. And that's when you know they've really soaked up the amount of oil that they need. And these, we're not as worried about them looking as good as our countertops. Our countertops look real good. When I get done doing these, I'll actually go in and do a quick walkthrough of our kitchen and let you see the countertops. I actually have some videos baking some bread that you can see our countertops in. This, I really wanted black walnut, but it was really expensive, so we went with these birch. They were probably half to a third of the price of what walnut is. This walnut is very high. We would have had to have special ordered it. You see how I'm just kind of, it may be hard to see in the video, but these dry up really, really quick because that wood really soaks that down. And you can actually, after you do your first coat and let it dry, you can actually go back over it with 1,000 grit sandpaper, and it kind of really, really smooths that tung oil out after it sets up, and it is really, really slick. But we're not going for that look. We just want them to be the same color as our countertops. That way it all looks the same, kind of flows. This is really kind of farmhousey. We weren't going for that in our house, but that's kind of how it ended up being, but it's okay. We remodeled our house, and so it was kind of you had to kind of deal with what was there because this house is on a slab. We've remodeled a few houses before this one, and being on a slab, you're kind of your hands are tied on a few things. So as far as certain plumbing, we couldn't move, so we had to kind of keep the kitchen sink where it was, which was fine, and other things like that. In our bathrooms, we had to keep the vanities where they were originally. Showers, the drains had to be on the same side, whereas other houses, if it's on a conventional floor, you can put plumbing, gas, whatever, you can put it wherever you want to. I prefer conventional floor houses if I'm working on them. All right. You see, they've kind of started to slow down on the drying. Well, the suns went down also, so that's really slowed it down a little bit. So we're gonna keep going. And I see on my film it's been about 12 minutes. So we've got about 18 more to go. And like I said, you want to just keep adding this tung on. You can see I'm not having to dip it as much on these that I'm redoing. It's because the oil isn't soaking up near as fast as it was in the beginning. Now on these pieces such as this one, this one, this one, they have knots in them, and they're going to soak up more oil, so they will actually get drier faster than the others. The other little, I know you can't see it in the video, but this wood is laminated together. It's glued. It's a bunch of small pieces of birch that are glued together into one big 1x4 piece. Now after this one, what I'm going to do, these are actually standing real well in oil. So what I'm going to do after I get these two done, I'm going to go back and redo all of my edges again, because I can see the oil kind of starting to run down the sides from my excess. And so I want to take that and just kind of spread it on the edges, since the oil is really slowing down. And that's a good thing about those buckets like that. You can set them down and you don't have to worry about knocking them over. We tried it with a bowl first and it didn't work as well, and I thought about that container this morning that just had nuts in it, and we keep a few things like that way, such as this instance where you can use it. Man, I know I'm breathing hard, but my goodness, it's like 7 o'clock and it is hot already. I'll be sweating. All right, just a light coat on these edges. A lot of times your brush will be loaded up enough that you really won't have to dip it very much in your oil. I know I'm saying oil if you see the TikTok videos. You can't tell I'm from Mississippi. We'll say oil. That's how I say it, oil. tung oil. But I'll show you the brand we use again. It's called the Milk Company. My wife found it online. They've been really, really good. They ship really, really fast. We've done some cutting boards with their oil. They have it's actually just called a cutting board oil, which keeps the natural grain of the wood, and it's really, really nice. My wife has one that we made. I don't think I showed it in the video of my bread making, but like I said, I'll do a quick walkthrough of our kitchen. That way you can see it. In the video, I don't know, I'll have to watch the video before I upload it and edit it. I don't know if you'll be able to see how shiny these things are, but see, like, the drying has really, really slowed down. I think I did 3 coats on the top side. And once that 3rd coat gets on, the oil soaking up really, really gets slow. So that's when I take advantage of doing the sides and the ends. Because that open grain on the ends, it really takes a lot of oil to keep those soaked. That's the thing. That's what I love about this. Not like with stain with this. If you see a spot that's light or you didn't get enough oil on, you can just go back and put it on it, because when it all soaks in, it's going to have very little discoloration. And I never knew about this stuff. I think a lot of people that use their butcher block countertops as actual cooking surfaces, I try not to, just for the sake of keeping stuff clean. They actually are how we found this stuff. I think a lot of folks use them, or use this tung oil on their butcher blocks. I think and I'll probably end up doing the edges just one more time. See, now I can see it's kind of starting to dry up a little bit, so we're going to go back and do one more of these. So I know the sides and edges have 2 coats, and the top faces is going to have 4 coats. So I'm happy with that, and then I'll let it run on out to the 30 minutes, and then I'll come back and wipe off the excess, and I'll do some close-up. That way you can see them. I guess I should have done a close-up of before, but before it was just sanded wood, so nothing special. If you've ever been through Lowe's or Home Depot, you can see wood, bare wood. So and you can see, I don't know if you could see in the video, how much of that oil that I put in this jug. You can see it's really dwindled down, the amount of oil that's in it, because this wood, it soaks it up real good. And it's helped that the sun has went down. I can see some edges I missed. See what I was talking about? That's great. I saw edge that I didn't get real good, so I can just go back with my brush. Oops. Go back with my brush and just even those babies out. See, if you were staining, oh my gosh, that's why I hate staining. We stain some shelves in our pantry. If you get any of those runs down the side, and then you're like, oh, or you forget about them, or you think I'll get them later, you come back and they're dry, I mean, it's just a mess, because then you try to stain over it and it just keeps getting darker and darker in those little spots. So I really like using this stuff. And it's not a big mess. I don't think you can see any on the deck. splashed a little bit, but it isn't bad at all. We've got 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch it. I'm going to get in a light where I can see what my wood is doing. And you really want to, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put a lot on these things. Just soak them down, because I can see on these spots that I showed where the knots are, that's really the only spots that are drying up, but I still want to keep them kind of wet. See, that's what I'm doing. I'm not putting a lot on it. I'm just putting enough to allow it to soak back in. And on the pieces with a more coarse grain in the wood, it tends to soak the stuff up a little faster also. But really, there's a ton of videos on doing this, and a lot of people have their own way, and that's what I would suggest. What we did was we took our countertops, flipped them to the bottom side, and actually did trials with it. We tried different shades of the tung oil. We tried different sandpaper, and this is what we come up with that worked the best for us and the look that we wanted, because we didn't want them super smooth, because sometimes if they're too smooth, they have trouble soaking the oil up. And right now I can see this oil is puddled really, really good. And that's what you want. You want the oil kind of standing on it. That way it really has a chance to soak it up. And when it starts doing that, that's telling you that it's getting close to being soaked up as much as it's going to. And all I'm doing, you can see there's just a couple of dry spots, and I'll just hit them with my brush, just what's loaded in my brush, and that works real well. Right there. And what we'll do, I don't know how we're going to stack these, but we will actually put them back in our house while they're curing. We'll probably have to put them in a spare bedroom and lock the door. That way people or critters can't get in there and mess with them, because this stuff will stay a little tacky for a few days until it gets fully cured. So if you do put them in your house, be sure to set them on something. We keep painter's blankets, that way if we do something like this. And this stuff is really it's going to make your house smell amazing, because it has it's like the reducer that they use in this. It's a citrus base, and it smells amazing. It smells like oranges. And I didn't set a timer. I'm just kind of going by how they look, and the timer on my camera from what I'm filming. See, this one's puddled up real nice there on the edge. And I'm just keeping that oil as even as I can. And when this stuff fully cures, it's kind of hard, like a clear coat or a urethane finish. It's definitely not a urethane, but it kind of gives you the thought that it is, because I don't think we've actually chipped any of this, because I don't think it will chip, but I'm not sure. We haven't had our countertops in our house very long, but I know they're real durable. We've definitely used them, so I really like them, because I was the one that wanted butcher block countertops, and my wife was kind of apprehensive. She likes them, but we really wanted hard surface, but they were really, really expensive. So these have been on here about 25 minutes, so we're getting close now. I'm gonna see, I saw a little kind of a run and a dry spot on that edge, so I'm gonna hit them just with my brush to even them out. What it is, it's the runs that's coming over the top of these. What I'll do, I'll just do both sides and just to even all of it out. Just so it doesn't, because those drips, if you do leave them and don't wipe them off, they will set up like that, and you'll be able to see little sags or runs in your coating. So that's why I'm just kind of taking my brush and just evening everything out on the sides. I'm not trying to put any more oil on it, I'm just evening the edges out. All right, I think I'm gonna call it on that one because they all look really good. They're not soaking oil up anymore. So I'm gonna take my rag, and you will get this stuff on you, I promise. So I'm gonna kind of put my hand under it, and I'm just gonna wipe the excess, because you'll kind of feel how tacky this stuff is when it starts to cure. I'm gonna do all my edges and then come back over the top. You can see it trying to roll my rag forward, so you kind of have to hold on to it. Whoop. That's what you don't want to happen. Drag this thing off in the floor, get it all nice and dirty. I guess it probably would help. I could just do all of it. No, I can't get my hand around it. So I'll just do it all separate. I'll probably just let this video be by itself, because I don't think I'll video actually reapplying the second and third coats, because it's pretty self-explanatory, and you can do as many coats as you want. We just, from our research and study, we found that 3 worked real well for what we wanted, so that's what we do. So I'm gonna let this set for probably another, I would say probably 30 minutes. I'll just keep an eye on it. Then when it looks like it's about ready for a second coat, I'll run out here and do a second coat. And the second and third coat goes really, really fast, because it won't be soaking that oil up so fast, and you won't have to do near as many coats on it like I did. You saw I used, it's probably a quart of oil, and I mean, we don't have a lot of, we didn't spill any or anything. That would actually soak that amount up. All right, so they're all wiped down. And see, not a lot come off on my rag. I mean, this wood soaks that up. What I'm gonna do is put my rag right there, because if you lay it on anything, it will stain it. There's a spot I see I missed. All right, let me do a close-up, let you see the finished product. If I can get my camera down. All right. Let me get down here where you can see. So you can see the grain and the different pieces of wood that was made, or that was glued together to make these backsplashes. You can see the end grains where I got them real good. The end grains will soak up a lot. They look really, really good. That really matches our countertops real well. Well, and that's why it's real important to stay with the same species of wood. Like I said, these are birch, our countertops are birch, so they all come from the same place. And that way your grains will match, because we could have gotten walnut that would have been dark already, but it definitely would not have matched the grain in our countertops. So that's why we're doing this process, but that's all there is to it. Maybe this will help some of you out if you're indecisive about it. And like I said, I guess I could do that right now. Do a quick walkthrough of our kitchen, let you see our countertops. And this is what we use, the Real Milk Paint Company. And I guess they've been in business about close to 30 years. And 1 gallon of this will go a long way. We actually used, I think, 2 doing our entire countertops. There's our kitty cats. You can see them on YouTube. Turn some lights on. See, this is our countertops. They actually turned out really, really well. And that's the butcher block my wife did with the just the butcher block oil. So it all worked really, really good. They look really nice. They turned out real, real well. I don't want to show you the other side. It's pretty messy, so. But anyway, that's it. Y'all let me know if you like it.